Stick around while I turn these old junk parts into a nifty little robot. That's all coming up next on Making with Mark. To begin this project, I'm going to use some old junk parts, and I'm going to also incorporate some sheet styrene to put those together. So the first things first, I need to build some bases for some of the main body parts on the head to fit to. To do that, I trace the outline on the sheet styrene and then cut each piece out. And then I add some glue to the underside of the head to begin with. I stick it on. And then I dip the headpiece into some baking powder. This is just to lock in that glue. And then I clean up the edge with my rotary tool on the drums. After some light sanding just to smooth out the edge, I'm left with the base of the head. So now I can move on and start on the main part of the body. And to do that, I use the same steps as I did for the head. And with that complete, now I can turn my attention on the connection between the head and the body. And to do that, I'm going to one of my trusty parts bins, and I'm looking for a specific piece that will give me just enough gap and will look pretty cool. So I decided on this plastic cap nail head. Of course, I removed the nail, but this is going to work just right. It'll give me the perfect amount of distance between the head and the body, and it has a little bit of a shape to it that I really like. I do some sanding to scuff up both sides. This is just to promote adhesion. Add some super glue, and then I put it in place. And with that finished, now I'm ready to move on to the bottom base part. To do that, I followed the same exact steps. And now I'm ready to move on to adding some arms. For the arms, I'm actually using these old headlight bulbs. These were burned out and had to be replaced on one of my vehicles, so now they're on to new life as the arms for a robot. So I just use my sanding wheel and put a little bit of a contour on the top part of each arm. And this is just to make it sit nice and flush. It'll be a lot stronger that way, and it'll look better. So after a little bit of tweaking and adjusting, I get those to sit exactly the way I want them. I add some super glue to the arm, and then I figure out exactly where I want to place it. You'll also notice I use some sandpaper to sort of scuff up the side of the body. Once I have that in place, I go back to the trusty old baking powder and just add some to fill that joint in and then brush away the excess. I repeat the same process with the other arm. Now it's on to creating the legs for the robot. And for these, I have these screw-in adapters for a light bulb to go into the socket. I had these left over from a home project some time ago, and I've been waiting for a good opportunity to use them, so I thought this would work well. I have this metal plate. This is actually a side piece off of an ATV carburetor that I had from another project. And so I lightly sand the top of that socket, add some glue. Then I position these where I thought they made sense, about midway of that metal plate. And the idea here is once these are glued in place, I can attach the whole plate to the underside of the robot. And these are going to act as legs / rocket thrusters. You'll see that in the end. And now with the legs attached to the base plate, I scuffed up the surface, added some glue, and then put it in place. And to reinforce the base, I actually used the little pre-drilled holes and added some additional glue and baking powder. I found this little bulb from a weed eater carburetor. This is the little push bulb. Thought that would look really get on top of his head. And then I found these little batteries that I used for eyes. And with the body now complete, it's time to move on and get into the finishing stages. First, some primer. With a coat of primer, it's easy to see he really starts to look like a robot now. And now the exciting part. I added a coating of this brass metallic paint, and then I went in and did my patented weathering and distressing here. This is, again, just some watered down acrylic black paint. And once I apply that, I dab most of it off using a damp towel until I get the effect that I'm looking for. This was a really fun project, and I'm very happy with the way it turned out and super excited to share it with you.
You enjoyed this video? Check out these other two that I think you'll also enjoy.